So you're going to be talking about Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens. What the Dickens? I thought you were going to ask. Are you going to be? Yeah, anyway, Hard Times. I'm going to see what the subtitle is. I think it's For These Times. Yeah, Hard Times for These Times, but it's generally like Hard Times, published initially, at least in book form, 1854. So what is that, 166 years ago or something like that? A long time ago. It actually reads quite well. I started reading way before I started reading. When did I start reading this? Maybe a week ago or something like that. Sometimes. Yeah, the 9th. And what is it today? The 13th or something like that? About half a week ago? No.
12.
Maybe 2 months ago, I started reading Phineas Redux, or Redux, how do you pronounce that, by a contemporary, later contemporary of Charles Dickens, called Anthony Trollope. And I've got through 60 pages of it. It's just awful. I almost said GD awful. Out full, you know, without the initials. It's just terrible stuff. And, you know, I've never read another one of his more illustrious contemporaries, more illustrious than Trollope. Never read all the way through William Makepeace Thackeray. And he's supposed to be, you know, by times reasonably good, but what can I say? Anyway, Hard Times. It's kind of like, but it could be the novel of contemporary times, because we're going to be faced with hard times once the budget crises hit. Although, percentage-wise, in the I think it was the 90s, Canada had a higher per capita death ratio, even after COVID. You know that? That's how bad Brian Mulroney and I almost said regressive conservatives. Why would I say that? Anyway, the progressive conservatives got hold of things. It's awful.
Yeah, so as much as people may look at, and I mean, I have said that I am disgusted with the way that certain liberals have handled COVID.
Yeah.
You can pretty much bet, without any exception, the Conservatives would be worse.
Oh, of course, especially now that they really are.
You look down south of the border.
Yeah. Down south of the border, but not Mexico way. What's happening with Donald Trump is absolutely insane. Yeah. So,
but
you know, like
what
he's
else
fighting
is
the
insane?
governors. Basically, the health there is handled by the states, just like it's handled here, or similar to the way it's handled here by the provinces and stuff like that.
But what else is
gotten in the
insane
way.
is the reporting done by the CBC.
Yes!
We listen to that.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
But
James
we're
listens to it a lot more than I do. I only listen
know,
to it on the way to hiking and back.
Pauline is very patient, but I think when it comes to the CDC, I'm more patient than she. Ordinarily, she's more patient than I am, I think, but...
well, you know, the thing is people should be aware when they're being herded by words.
Herded by words. She's been writing poetry, and notice that's a good...
I'm eating kimchi right now.
Yeah.
Very hot.
Herded by words. What she did was she chucked a rhyme at you right there, even while she was eating kimchi.
Herded by words by the...
Yeah. Very good.
Yellows of the CBC.
Yellows of the...
And yellows, I'm not referring to skin color or anything like that. I'm referring to...
not go that route.
Don't even...
However much you might be tempted.
I'm referring to the Myers-Briggs classification of personality types. So you can look that up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, we mistake yellows for caring, compassionate, passive individuals. They are not passive, they are aggressive. And they are dangerous. They are more dangerous than the Reds. Honestly, they are. And in times like these, they are.
They
So,
are really stupid.
today, for example,
Yeah.
we're listening to, on the way there, we hear about our
On the way to
hiker.
Alexander
On the way
Wilderness
to, yeah, I should have clarified.
Mm.
Oh boy, this got me stiffly. Maybe I should stop there with the kimchi. It's really good. So what I did here is I mixed.
It's hot, eh?
Yeah. I mixed
Pauline
a lot
loves
of
that.
kimchi in.
Yeah.
But what I did is I made a soup. I'd cooked wild rice with parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. And I didn't cook it with the cherry wine this time, but I could have. But instead, I've given James honey sherry onions to go on a salad. So basically, this is the same salad that I made him before, but this time with honey sherry onions instead. Yeah.
And then I'm mixing in some kale nuggets.
Yeah.
So this is healthy and tasty. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's the first time I've had the wild rice with the
honey sherry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I've had the honey sherry things with all sorts of things.
Yeah, they're good with all
like
of them.
I've had them on kale burgers.
Yeah.
And I don't even notice there's kale in it. Now Pauline already has got the nuggets not tasting really like kale. It's just a slight
I've had to work
bitterness. Yeah. Yeah, and she's
but
worked
anyway,
hard on
so
it.
I put some wild rice in. So I
Efficacious.
basically made like a Mr. Noodles, but without Mr. Noodles, with instead wild rice, the seasoning that I cooked it with. I added some salt so that it would be soup-like, and then hot water, and I mixed that up, and so it's instant because I'd already cooked the wild rice for other things, for the salads and stuff. And then I let that cool a bit, and I dumped in a bunch of kimchi, which was really hot kimchi to begin with, and I put way too much. So, but it's still really tasty. It's just really spicy. So anyway, we're listening to CBC on the way to our hike this morning. Oh, that's spicy. And on the way there, they were reporting that a hiker from Calgary had fallen and 7 meters and been killed by a boulder. And
it would have been the boulder to kill. I don't think the ball did.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
Because
he probably wasn't feeling too good after 7 meters.
No, it's 20 feet, but when I was a kid, I jumped 10 feet and I didn't break anything.
Okay, so anyway,
yeah.
He died. And the thing is on the way back, I found wasn't really interested hearing that on the way there. It didn't perk me up at all, right? I wasn't thinking anything of it.
Perk your ears up is what you mean. You know, like sometimes perk up means feel good about it.
Oh yeah, well, it didn't. I mean, whatever. People die every day.
You worry about it, like the person was out there.
You have to be concerned, and I'm sure
asked
they
us
were concerned too. And you know what? If I'm hiking and I happen to die while hiking, that's the best way for me to die. I am thrilled. I'm going to say that right now. If I die while hiking, every time I go out, I wonder, am I going to have a heart attack going up a mountain?
Mm-hmm.
It could happen anytime. I don't care. It's worth it for me. People make their personal decisions to go out. If they don't like hiking, they won't go. I mean, there are dangers.
Lots of people make that decision.
I mean, I'm more worried about ending up dead just being in my neighborhood than I am going out hiking somewhere.
It's
honestly.
an interesting neighborhood.
Yes.
And it's gotten more interesting.
But anyway, so I'm hearing about this. Wow, did he ever come close this time?
Wow. He must
Neighbor's
have been
cat went right by.
You mean he just came up the stairs?
He just went right by.
Wow.
Anyway, so
cheeky.
on the way back from there.
But understand, that's not the only living entity that gets cheeky.
No, I know.
But
anyway, so on the way back from our hike, on the radio they reported that again.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, that's odd. Because it was reported twice. I didn't hear once on the way there or back anything about what the Canadian death rate anywhere was
for
COVID yesterday. I didn't hear anything about that. They did not report that. In fact, they didn't report anything about COVID at all on the way there or on the way back.
So that's Calgary Sun territory when you're reporting disasters and stuff like that.
And so that says a lot.
Yeah, I don't pay them. I don't think Pauline does to do sunshine reporting. a Calgary Sun report.
But they did have an interesting story on. There was an interview with a woman was talking about, I can't remember the terminology, and I need to have the exact terminology really to report on
to
this
do
well.
it
So
justice.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, because all of these different university cliques, they have their keywords that they like to use, and if you want to follow with their dialogue, you really should use those same words. Just
That's
to
right.
be.
So you know what their doublespeak is.
Yes.
Who's
So
that term?
anyway,
Was that George Orwell?
So I'm listening to this woman talking about children and how it can be really difficult to for parents to handle children during a time like COVID, right?
Wow.
And because they might overgeneralize something, like they'll say it's always like this, or it's never like this, or it's always you're always this way, or it's always this way, or whatever. And there's a very lot of all or nothing sort of thinking.
Yeah.
And
so
they were talking about how catastrophism, how it's really dangerous for it's unhealthy for children who are going along that path, thinking along that path, and how you should try to accentuate the positive, look at the positive things, don't always look at the negative. But the thing is right now, the CBC are the yellows on the CBC, those reporters are, and interviewers, whatever, anybody who's
anyone involved
is involved. With the CBC, it looks like they're trying to encourage you to think away from COVID. It's everything from racism to the climate crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Everything they can think of to try to draw us away from thinking about what is actually crucial
for
us to be thinking, for anyone to be thinking about right now is COVID and how it's being dealt with. And part of how it's being dealt with is actually listening to the CBC, what the government-funded radio station, what they're trying to encourage people, how they're encouraging people to think. It's really uncomfortable.
Or not think. Just react in a positive manner.
Yeah.
Now here's the deal. When kids are scared about ghosts being under their bed, you want to accentuate the positive. You want to kind of dissipate that.
Mm-hmm.
When kids are scared of, let's say, the neighborhood bully, accentuating the positive just ain't going to happen. When you're scared of someone mugging you and or killing you in the back alley, you better take it seriously. If there are people in the back alley lugging around knives or guns or whatever, you better take it seriously. You don't go around, hoo, 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 hee, hee, hee. Life is fun. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work. Okay,
so
guys?
With James always accentuates the positive. And with me, I tend to be a downer. I know. And our personalities, we're not actually supposed to get along that way according to, what was it called, Cinescopes? It was a great thing where it was just a fun thing done by a couple psychologists. And it's a book where you look up what your favorite movies are, and then it tells you what your personality type is based on your movie selection. It was excellent. Anyway, so look that up. It's a lot of fun. It'll give you something to do in between worrying about whether or not you're going to die because of the poor handling of from the government and the official organizations due to, that are
around the
involved
world
with COVID handling. So anyway.
So you just let me follow up on that, if you don't mind. Pauline, I think is right. I accentuate the positive.
He does.
When you hear the negative from me, it's negative.
Yeah, exactly. It's when you hear him talking negative, it's serious. There is serious things to worry about because he'll talk me down from things. If I get if I'm like, okay, this is this way, and we need to react now, or whatever. You'll be, anyway.
So the
But
thing
no,
is, I
not with
try to
COVID.
do my homework. I'm not going to hide,
Oh, I do my
sugarcoat
homework.
stuff. Same thing with Polly.
It's not
And
like
then
I'm just reacting out of
my
nothing.
reaction tends to be more positive than it should be. So when you're hearing negative from me, it's more positive than it should be. You'd better start fastening your seatbelt and buckling up your helmet.
So anyway, about like trying to accentuate the positive with your children. Well, you're in a pandemic, but at least you're still alive. So let's think about how we can keep it that way. Honestly, I mean, there's no point in just la-di-dying your way through raising your children to try to not think about the negative things that are going away,
so they can
around,
catch the
so that they
disease
can go
and
ahead
hand it onto the ground.
Like, what does that help? Or then they might be stuck with permanent neurological damage
It
due
does
to.
affect some kids.
So, yeah, you definitely want to be a little bit concerned and responsible with raising your children, because the CBC, I don't know if they will do it for you.
They don't know, and I don't think they care.
Think they care. So, honestly, the most important thing with accentuating the positive with your children is making sure that they're still alive today and tomorrow. Try to do your best. That's really the best that you can do.
Yep.
And think, James and I, we've been going hiking. We rarely come across anyone. There was one other vehicle there while we were hiking today,
When we
and two
got
people.
there. Mhm.
2 people. That's all we saw. And so there
We
was
saw two people
two people
hiking down
leaving.
the
They were
hiking.
coming when we were leaving.
Yeah.
So 4 people total. But anyway, we were far away from them, and we had a great experience, and we were safe.
They could have got farther away. We were going up this road,
Yeah.
and if I'd been like, we got over right to our side, right. They begrudgingly got to the middle of the road. I didn't say anything to them. I didn't even give them a dirty look. But why wouldn't you just get over on your side?
They were far enough away. It didn't
Well,
matter.
according to what CBC says, but I was hearing one doctor/scientist saying, it was the one that was talking about it's spread by droplets. He's saying, like the idea with these 2 meters is it's aerosol.
Is it 2 meters now or 3?
2.
Two
But
now.
what he was saying was that's only if it's in a sneeze or a cough. If it's airborne, that's not enough. And he was the one that was saying, we should be looking at it. WHO should be looking at it very, very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one of these scientists, and he's not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
So what he was saying there is 2 meters, quite conceivably, is not enough. If it's droplets smaller than what you get from a sneeze or a cough, it's not enough.
Yeah.
And so here's the deal. Until we know better, it isn't enough.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
And honestly, another
Teresa
thing I'm going to
Tam,
say about it.
Justin Trudeau, all you flunkies, until you know better, it's not enough.
Okay.
Err on the
with
side of
James's
caution.
Shirt. See, I've worn a T-shirt underneath this, and this is no good, because if I happen to come across somebody and I did not feel like they were close enough. Say I was in public and going to pick up my items from the library, which I'm not doing today wearing this, but say I was wearing a mask and everything and wearing gloves, and still, how am I going to get this off my head? I'm going to have to pull it over my head and then, right? So, but James wearing the snap shirts, he can just
Snaps
whip
even
that
better.
off.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't have to come across his
Jump
face
into
at all.
the shower.
Yeah,
Wash
and
all the
it's
stuff off.
exactly. So it's good to actually think about everything right now. A lot of people, they had a 2-month period where they were just thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to think about things. You know, the government's paying. James and I didn't get a single cent for any kind of aid from the government. That
And we
$82
weren't
billion.
asking for-
No.
Yep.
Some other people got it. We didn't. But
The government is actually owing you money for
Yeah.
old age security. But
anyway, so other people, they were just sitting at home eating popcorn, watching movies. I don't know what they were doing, but they weren't actually planning things through. We go to the library and it's like, wow, the official
were closed
people,
down for
they
2
were
months.
closed down for a couple months. There's people getting paid to work inside there. They weren't even answering their phones half the time. The West
3
Side
months.
branch was answering their phone, so I'd call the West Side branch when I needed something
to
more
find
than
out what's happening on this side.
because they weren't answering their phones on this side. Yeah, I'd get them answering machine. Anyway, so what was I going to say? But
Well,
anyway, I get
hopefully-
there. When going to pick up my stuff, you get in the one door, and it's two-way traffic going in and out of that door.
Shoulder to shoulder.
And they're working on the roof again.
Mm.
They just paid to have somebody work on the roof. What was it, a year or two ago? They
I
redid
think
the
it
roof?
lasted a year. It was stunning.
Like
But
what?
I, think
I
it was
hope
finished
they're not
last
having
summer.
to pay them again. I hope they just called them back and said, "Well, you didn't do a good job, so you're going to do it out of your pocket." But I doubt that happened.
No.
I bet it's somebody's family from somebody in City Hall's
Little
getting an
nepotism
extra,
going there, maybe.
extra paychecks or something. Anyway, but going in and out, two-way traffic, and there's not enough room for one person in that lobby. And
No.
you know, the first time I went there were like 5 library employees, and I like the library employees. I don't want to see them die.
No.
There were like 5 of them in behind this plexiglass desk. None of them were social distancing because there's really only room for one person in behind that desk.
5 of them.
Yeah.
2 is
and
bad enough.
the last time I went, there were only 2. But
Yeah,
still.
But what? Well,
And
okay.
some of them, the first time I went, some of them were, no, I think only one of them was wearing a mask out of the 5. But anyway, the last time I think both of them were wearing masks in
Again,
their
that's
little
not
fish
enough.
bowl, in their little terrarium
Nope.
that they've set up for them there. But it's kind of ridiculous. Anyway.
Social distance
you would
and
think that
use masks.
people
And it's
would
not-
have
that's
been
not a
thinking
please.
through during that time period. Okay, what are we going to do to keep ourselves safe once things open up? Because you know they're going to open up. They're not going to keep things. Like I called my grandma and I was like, she's not the youngest person in the world. She said, well, they can't keep things closed forever because people need to have money to live, you know? So yeah, the government's not gonna pay you forever to stay at home. So what are you gonna do, right? And how are you gonna keep safe? Well, really,
Social distance, masks.
you've been herded into urban environments that aren't safe. You're in this is basically, it's like
a feedlot.
a feedlot. You're living in a feedlot. This is what they've herded you into. And the grocery stores are making a killing off of you being here in the city, wandering through, going paying for your own food from the feedlot, coming back. But what are you going to do? Is this a good environment for you? Are you going to be able to live here? I mean, I don't have any children. I don't care. I don't care anymore. This is like a COVID-assisted suicide for me, basically. If I die, I die. Because I don't have anything. But do you have a family? Do you want to see them grow up? You should think about it.
Healthy. Yeah.